Welcome to Club E. Hi, I'm Rick Brimacombe of Brimacombe and Associates. I am your architect of business growth and will work with you to unlock your potential and amplify the scale of your company. Today, we are talking about lessons from a serial entrepreneur. I want to thank our sponsors, Irish Titan, an e-commerce and web development firm, Highland Bank, a locally owned community bank, and Romaine Berg. Romaine Berg is a full-service digital marketing agency specializing in generating new customers for brands through paid, social, and organic digital channels. Contact me today if you'd like a personal introduction to the Romaine Berg team, and they'll do an audit of your existing website as a favor for being a part of the Club E community. All right, hit the subscribe and like button. It will allow us to deliver better content to you as well as let you know when we are going live. Also, you can catch Club E on your favorite podcast platform, Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, and many others. With that, I'd like to introduce today's guest. Welcome, Heather Manley, CEO of the On Demand Group. Welcome, Heather.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, welcome to 21. Thank you for joining us here today. For
Yep.
those of you watching on YouTube, you can get Heather's email address on the comments field of the YouTube channel. So again, thank you very much, Heather, for joining us. And folks can also submit their questions. I know we've already gotten a few questions and we will weave them into our conversation. So again, if you have questions for Heather, please put those in the comments field. We will grab those and try to work them into our conversation. All right, Heather, let's get started. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, what you're up to, a couple of different businesses that you're involved with. So tell us all that's going on.
Yeah, I'll try to make it brief. I have my background is creative. So I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts and I have a master's in business. And at about 26 years old, I was managing as a GM, a printing company. It's about 25 million, and a really lucky opportunity at 25, 26 to have. And that made me realize with an art background, I had no idea what I was doing. So then I got my MBA and then ended up approaching my dad saying, well, I decided to leave that role because it was kind of, uh, the owner was slightly insane to give that opportunity to somebody so young. But then also when I was trying to put in lean manufacturing and do all these things, he also didn't embrace some of those things. So I said, the second I can't do continuous improvement, I'm out. So I left and asked my dad, who was my best friend, hey, you have this IT consulting business. Do you want me to be a part of it? Otherwise, I have this offer in hand to go be a director at a much bigger company, and I won't be able to do anything for a few years. And thankfully, even though he couldn't afford me and my salary was low, he brought me on. And that was with On Demand Group. Came on at the same time with my brother, and thankfully, because everything I love he hates and everything he loves I hate, so it's a very uncommon family business because it's built on a lot of trust and respect, and we all have our butts in the right seats. um, we ended up buying out my dad within 2 years. I think at that time when we came in, it was about a million or just under a million in size, so pretty small. And when my dad had open heart surgery, we wanted him to really do what he loved, which was giving back to the community. He was heavy into Burnsville Rotary, sat on several boards, helped built the skate park in Burnsville for the kids because when we were younger, had nowhere to go and we just got into trouble. So he should have been an executive director. So we sent him with a very great buyout into the world where he should have been, and that really fulfilled him. And then Sean and I have been growing the business at about 20 to 40% every year. And now we're, over 100 people. We're a global company offshoring in Manila and in every area of IT silos in regards to individual staffing and project staffing. During that time, 15 years of building up ODG, I started Heather's Dirty Goodness, which is a small little boutique spice company because my dad had heart disease. And I wanted to create something that was low salt, not no salt, with high integrity. And he kind of helped me understand how to just start the process of having conversations. And then Kowalski's really helped me understand how to bring a product to market. That was really small. And then I'd say we're starting our 7th year of Crooked Water Spirits. And that I started after having a really beautiful experience with a craft product that helped me understand the difference between micro and macro. And a great example is a tomato out of your garden versus a tomato out of the store. And that sparked what was one idea into now we're in 7 states. We're on Sun Country Airlines, 60 awards nationally, written up in Whiskey Advocate, which is awesome. Really adhering to pillars of quality, innovation, and the experience. So I run all those companies. Like I said, we're about 125 with the tech company. The Dirty Goodness is just me, and then the Crooked Water is just 3 people. Because we approached it very differently, like a lot of breweries did. We contract distill, we leverage somebody's infrastructure to make our product and our recipes, and that has allowed me to be the sole funder and the sole owner versus needing investment from others. And then in not having to appease anybody, I can really stick to my and nor needing a dollar out of this company. Yet it really allows me to stick to my guns on what I want the business to be, back to those pillars of quality.
So remind everybody to learn more about the businesses or find out more about the products. What are their websites?
Oh yeah, I'm the worst plugger. Sorry about that. OnDemandGroup.com, DirtyGoodness.com. Though some corporate websites might not let you get there, you might have to look at home, and it's nothing bad, but it just sounds bad. And then CrookedWaterSpirits.com.
All right. So, wow, that's a lot. Super busy. As somebody who's running 3 different businesses, which is very unusual, and being actively involved in the community with various volunteer work, how do you A, get it all done, but B, kind of assess your days and help you just get everything accomplished that you have on your to-do list?
So I don't get it all done. And in fact, I have a to-do list that I've been rewriting for almost a year, some of the items on there. So they never leave until I get them accomplished. But you can't do it all. And what I love to do is not feel guilty about it, know my priorities. But then I like just to throw the ball. And then when it comes back, you throw it again. And that's just really how I focus on making progress more with the side hustles, and not feeling guilty about where my time goes on a particular day. I also don't watch TV, and in fact, I'm not quite sure if we still have a president or not. So I need so there has a downside of not maybe always being looped in, but I know that my companies need me, and so flopping down the TV is not a good escape for me, and so that also leaves me more time to throw balls and be engaged. I don't have kids; these are kind of my kids. I have 2 bonus kids, but they're not, they have 2 parents, so I really get to like make these my babies that I give a lot of time to. But my passions are family, food, and booze, and I have companies around each of them, so every second I give them is truly fulfilling because it's not always easy, but it's always fun because I love what I'm doing. When it comes to the nonprofit side, I really keep that for the evenings and weekends, and I try to make Mondays all either mentoring meetings or people out of the industry that just want insight, or hey, how did you do this, or can you help me? I kind of try to segment one day a week for that so that I can remain focused for the rest of the week.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're accomplishing a lot, and thanks for spending time with us here today, giving everybody in the audience some background on what you're doing and how you've gotten there and how you're doing it, which we are going to dive in where things all started. I myself have a belief that most entrepreneurs had a role model or models and that creative spirit in their DNA. Eric M. is a longtime and active community member here at Club East. Eric had a question. Who's been your entrepreneurial inspiration? Although I think you've already told us, but tell us more.
Yeah, so my dad for sure was. I grew up answering telephones in his business. He had a management organizational company, and then moved into IT consulting. So he had a couple businesses, and saw the ups and downs. One thing I learned from him was he had made an amazing video, but he had never pre-sold it and didn't know what the demand was. Think of the fail fast type methodologies that we have now. Uh, and they all sat in a room for years. And I think they inevitably they got donated, and it was a really expensive venture for him. So I thought I had lessons like that, and then I had lessons in a lot of ethical standards on just, even from how he treated people when we were out to hearing him talk to his clients, um, uh, as well as how we acted when we were at home.
Well,
I think
speaking, huh?
I just think business and ethics should be tied a lot more closely than they are.
All right. Well, can't say I disagree on that front. So speaking of families, question from the audience, Dana M. Dana says, as a business owner and father of 3 little girls, how do I get my daughters excited about business?
So, one, bring them into the office. But I think it's even, yeah, I think from there they'll see opportunity. But I think even more important than getting excited about business, because I think that will more than likely organically develop, is that foundation. What is their ethical core value foundation? And I've talked to a lot of clients who have daughters, and wonder how can they have the biggest impact on them. For me, my dad took me uh, on his Saturday errands. So he always ran errands on Saturday, which even to this day, I have trouble doing anything during the week because I feel guilty, and I try to keep all my errands for the weekend. But we would go to the grocery store, the dry cleaners, the liquor store, we go out for lunch, we go get the car washed, and we might stop for the bookstore because I used to read like 2 or 3 books a night, and so that was always my reward. But and then other miscellaneous errands, and that was every Saturday from probably when I was 8 years old until I went to college. Maybe missed a few, but that was our time to connect. And during that time, and that those rides in the car were such impactful conversations talking about how do you treat people, what is the right thing to do. I was born and raised in Rotary, so it was really that continual affirmation of the Rotarian core values, the 4-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to everybody? Is it beneficial? Build stronger partnerships. And that is my guiding light. Every decision I make is based around that, and that was delivered to me through just the time my dad gave me consistently. It can't be done in one Saturday. It has to be done consistently over time.
I totally agree. As a father of 4 and 2 girls, I totally agree with that time and that consistency. And then, Dana, I would add that I created a presentation that I used to give to my kids in grade school to their classes about running a lemonade stand, but running it as a business. So it kind of explained the cost side of the equation, revenue side of the equation. And if you'd like to see a copy of that, happy to share that with you. Rick@brimacombe.com. You can find me, or put your contact information in the comments field, Dana, and we'll reach out to you. All right, so back to the family of origin, very impactful, Heather, in your world. How did living in that entrepreneurial household affect how you either analyze or approach a business? And did everyone get along back then and now maybe? Or did that creative genius create some friction?
I would I would say my dad definitely had zero ego. And I mean, when he passed away a few years ago, and the letters that came in, and you would think it was a parade, his funeral, because he really took time to listen to people and allow them to feel heard, which is really hard to do. And for it to be intrinsically driven is really hard to do. I find I have to course correct my emails to say hi, how are you, versus demanding something right away because I am so rushed and want to get it out. So I think my dad's lack of ego, passion around family, really brought in for me, and how I run my businesses is balance. So, we never talked business at home. Not in my current home and not in growing up. It was never allowed at a holiday gathering. And if so, my dad would be like, "All right, come on, you guys, let's move on." And it's like, "Yeah, right. This is boring. We have a lot more in common than just work." It's almost as dangerous as when you have kids with a partner and all you have in common is the kids, right? You have to have a better foundation than just business or children. Remember why you're together. And in doing that and not having those conversations at the table just created a lot of balance. And um, I got to go see what he did when I went in, but I don't think I really appreciated it until I was more in college and saw what he had built and the freedom that he had. But I was never really driven around wanting to create something. I just wanted to work with my dad, and I am organically where I am now because because my passions are family, food, and spirits. I just wanted to work with my dad, and he could have been making pooper scoopers, and we would be in every Walmart, right? Because I'd be passionate about the legacy, I'd be passionate about the brand, and I know it'd be high quality. And it just kind of it getting into ODG kind of I think just ignited something that I didn't really even know was there.
Okay, again, we got questions coming here. Reminder to everybody, you can go into the comments field, submit your questions. Also, if you would, please hit the subscribe and like button to join our community. All right, question from Dan R. How have your various businesses been affected by COVID? And then I would add the food and the beverage. Do they feel or face different challenges than the technology company? And then maybe the last thing, was there some sort of aha moment that was kind of that top thing that maybe you've learned since last March?
So for the businesses, technology, we kind of really just had about 2 stagnant months, but in a business where you have people rolling on and rolling off at a pretty strong cadence, if you don't have that rolling on, but you have rolling off, you're going to experience a little bit of loss. We did end the year stronger than we started it. So that's fantastic. And what we're already seeing for January is 2019 numbers. So that's really, really exciting to be back and level set. We didn't have to let anyone go. We kept all salaries. We, in fact, hired 3 people. And we really pivoted. I know everyone hates that word, whatever you want to call it. We shifted our focuses. So I would say there's a lot of analysis paralysis, as I'm sure you saw, Rick, is people just freaking out, worrying and running numbers and running equations. Well, it doesn't really matter until a lot of you can prep, but you also don't want to overreact. And you saw a lot of layoffs and people overreacting, and then they didn't get hit as strong because it's such a K experience from a business perspective in this pandemic that people had to rehire back and hire more because they were starting to grow. So instead of analysis paralysis, we really pulled everybody back and said, all right, we're going to have about 30 to 90 days that are going to be pretty quiet. And it was more about how do we add value to the team during this downtime and versus just laying them off for 30 days. And how do we better the company? So of course, I applied for the PPP for all the companies, and we put a lot of investment in training. So we trained everybody. Everyone in my company is certified in their niche area of impact on the business, as well as really putting a lot of money into marketing. So don't go to my website. It's all getting revamped right now. I blame it on myself and my hustler state of mind is that we've never invested in marketing, but as we grow and it grows beyond this is Heather's company, it was a big thing to let go and just say, yeah, we need to put some money into it. So put a lot of energy, time and money into things that are really hard to do when you're running so fast in such a positive climate that when things go quiet, it was the time to throw money at it and say, hey, we've been meaning to do this. We've just been so busy. Now is the time to take it and do it right. And the company's going to come out in the following year a lot stronger than what it was. For Crooked Water, for sure, a J. We started high. We had, for easy math, 100,000 a month, and then went down to 10. Right. And then went right back up to exceed. And I'm not saying those are my numbers, but easy math went just all the way up to like a high J to some of our biggest months. And being that we're craft and we're higher priced, nothing but gratitude for that. We have a great distributor. I have 2 great sales reps on that. And we really pivoted as well to contribute to those sales in doing tasting kits and releasing new products. So while there's a lesson, or not a lesson, but there's back to gratitude of not making that investment of building a brick and mortar because I didn't want to take on investors. Um, I didn't have to go make sanitizer. I didn't have to figure out how to survive. I had to figure out how to thrive. And that's a big difference in a pandemic. So we were able to release, 3 new SKUs that contributed to probably $25,000 in sales for the holiday. Our tasting kits, our ready to pour kits. I was able to bring in equipment that allowed me to do better purchases out of this winery in California. So, being that nimble, and that calculated risk has allowed us to really and not overextending ourselves, do a really comfortable way of navigating the pandemic. I didn't let anyone go. I hired another person for Crooked Water. So I'm just super grateful for our positioning in what has been a devastating experience for many of the people that I work with in the hospitality sector.
Yeah. Well, let's hope as things open up here, life continues to get better for all of our sakes, but certainly for you and your friends in the hospitality, food, beverage world. I know that you've formed a number of partnerships over the years. When it comes to such partnerships, what are the main things that you're looking for to try to decide if it's a good fit and right for you?
Bottom line is morals and ethics. That is non-negotiable. And I think that's why I'm so vigilant on my brand and making decisions that always I definitely make mistakes, but try to make decisions that are in alignment with my true north and my core values. Because without that, there's nothing. And then I would say quality, of course. And then are these partners fulfilling my weakness, right? Are they the strengths in my gaps of weakness? And that's where beautiful partnerships are formed.
That's good words of advice for everybody. Speaking of words of advice, you mentioned that you do a lot of your scheduling on Monday to talk with folks wanting to learn about the industry, et cetera. What advice would you have for other aspiring entrepreneurs? And then dig into it a little deeper. Would that be any different whether you were talking to a female or a male?
I don't think it'd be different. However, I think there would be additional information. All my businesses are certified as woman owned, cost $350 a year if you're under a million. And then if you're over a million, what a great problem. You pay a little bit more, but it helps you get to a buyer. It doesn't get you the business. Absolutely not. You have to go earn it. You have to have quality. You have to be able to fulfill, but it allows you to get to the right person to get the business, fast tracks you, if you will. And that the WBENC can be for women. Then you have the diversity certification. So anyone's diverse, woman, veteran, LGTB. I think I said that right. All of those, leverage that diversity aspect to help your business grow. I would say, words of advice, nothing matters outside of action. That is the difference between a corporate worker and an entrepreneur is action. You can dream, but you have to also have actions behind it. And it doesn't have to be everything. It can be little nuggets and little bites that lead to a bigger vision, but start the process. My boyfriend is definitely a dreamer, and I will just cut him down. I'll say, nope, like I don't like to dream. What do you want to do, and what are the actions towards it? And I know that can just kill him because he's definitely very, very creative from his thought and background. But if you don't have action, then it is just dreaming, and nothing's going to happen. No one's going to give it to you, and no one's going to make it happen for you.
So again, reminder to everybody that you can submit your questions into the comments field. Have another question here from Rob, kind of going back to you're talking about your various businesses, but what do you see as the biggest opportunity for your businesses in 2021?
So for Crooked Water, we just signed a lease. So I'm sitting in my new office, which is really exciting, which will kind of be like, I'm going to push some boundaries, but will be like a speakeasy tasting room. So that's kind of a fun opportunity. for us here. For ODG, we are leaning heavily into just developing and growing our project side of the house, and we're looking to see how this plays out and how the real estate plays out. So we actually see ourselves buying a building. So I think that's a COVID opportunity. And it's also an opportunity to hire talent that others are laying off, that are amazing resources that are usually aren't on the market and hard to find. So talent acquisition is a benefit of COVID, as well as finally a lot of organizations that were so staunch on button seats have been forced to acknowledge that business can run remotely. And so what happens is that we're opening the doors up from California to Massachusetts on talent. And that allows us to get it just that pool allows us to respond quicker. It allows us to respond better. And more than likely, it's going to be also better rates for everybody. No travel, all that stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. So speaking of talent acquisition, as you look at kind of your own history, the family business history, what would you say are the top three skills needed to be a successful entrepreneur?
Uh, I think it's made up of so many. I have my own style. And what works for me is not going to work for others. And I get that. But I would say for me, is the willingness to ask for it. So I've reached out to just randos that I love and respect on what they've built, and then created friendships and mentors out of them. I love to learn off of other people's mistakes so it doesn't cost me money. And that means nurturing and building a network of people a lot smarter than you that you can tap into. So I think that a robust and nurtured and mutually beneficial network is critical. You can't just take, you have to give back. Asking for it. All you can hear is no, and I hear no all the time. I fail all the time, and maybe that's why I'm not so bad at branding or selling, is that it doesn't phase me. It just goes right under the rug, and I don't get embarrassed or whatever. I just let it slide. And I also do a lot of no shame in your game and fake it till you make it. And I had in the very beginning of ODG, I really spent so much time networking, getting out, getting publicity, speaking on panels, sharing our story, because there's a lot of people that do what ODG does, but we are a lot different it becomes about the soft side, and it becomes about the core values, the transparency in how we do business. We're pretty much an open book business with clients and with our staff, but that takes time to tell the story. And so taking the time to do that with the panels and connect with people, I believe has been a critical part of our growth. But in doing that, I think a lot of people, there was a woman that came up, she runs about $100 million business. And she said, well, you should totally join this group. It's for businesses that are, 50 million and more. And I'm like, well, that's the biggest compliment, because, we're so small, but we're growing at a super fast clip. But it goes down to that fake it till you make it. And yeah, I'll eventually, yes, I'm part of that YPO group, but it's also how do you present yourself? How do you get out there, and how do you get the excitement and get the energy, even if you might not even be, like right now, I'm not where I want to be. I want to be a $7,500 million company, right? So it's for me, it's that continuous journey. But I don't know. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, absolutely. And you obviously have done a lot of great things on growing the businesses, marketing the businesses. But 2020, many challenges, and I'm sure you had other challenges over the course of your career. If you looked backward, rear view mirror, and you said, boy, these were three really tough times or tough challenges that I had to work through, what would those be?
So, I think anyone that owns a business that's on this call will say it's 3 steps forward and 2 to 4 steps back, right? It's never a straight climb. So as long as you're okay with that, knowing that you have to just, well, that sucks. Let's dig in, let's fix it, let's go there. I I feel a lot of gratitude that I don't feel like I've had these devastating moments. I feel, in the very beginning when Sean and I came into the business about 6 months in, we were into the red. And then we weren't really panicking, but we came in and maybe I just don't have a meter for risk because I think my brother was panicking, and he was more of a COO type, CFO, and he scheduled a meeting on a Saturday, and we came in and we were in the red because Sean and I basically came on at a very nominal salary, but we took the first 6 months to learn the business. And so at 6 months, the revenue or the we're in the red because we weren't growing or contributing to the business. And at that point, we really said, okay, Heather, what's your role? Sean, what's your role? And we really kind of organically went into places of our strength. But then we also looked at, our biggest client was also our biggest waste of time. So we were spending 80%, or what felt like our biggest client, because we were getting maybe 20 or 30 recs a month from them, requisitions, job openings. But what we realized was that 80% of our efforts were really about 5 to 10% of our revenue. And that's why we were in this glog of working so hard but not smart. So what we end up doing is firing the client, aka not responding to anything. And then we went out and started evangelizing our story and creating new relationships. And I think we were out of the red within 30, 45 days because we already had a beautiful story to build on. But it was a scary moment to say, we're in the red and we're not going to work on these 30 jobs. We're going to start on building new relationships of value that are mutually beneficial and mutually respected. And from there, it'll be business that is fulfilling on both sides, and relationships that will endure.
Get it? I'm with you 100%. All right, reminder to everybody, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Similarly, you can submit any last questions. If you look forward, question here from Matt. If you look forward, what do you think you're going to be doing, say, 5 years from now?
Oh, that's a good question. I can't see more than 5 years. So, because I like just to keep my blinders off and I like to just run with opportunity as long as it aligns with what I'm good at. So I see, Crooked Water. Let's start with an easier one. I see that we're in 7 states now, but I see that more thriving in more states, brand managers within those states, probably a smaller portfolio. And we would definitely have a full distillery and tasting room somewhere in Minnesota. For ODG, I'd see us, around 250 people, really, a robust business. I'm less in a pivotal role, which I think everybody wants Heather to have less oversight, but having a trusted team around me where they can lean into me and when they need. But all our butts are in the right seat, and I know what that is for me, and it's definitely not in the weeds, and it's having a trusted team that are way smarter than me, that building off what we have today, that just continue to take it to the next level. But ODG is my baby, and Crooked Water is also my other child, and they're both one's really heady and a totally different market. And half the people don't understand it. When I talk about ODG, they glaze over and nobody's excited about it unless they're in IT. And so I love the Crooked Water side because it kind of makes everyone smile and everyone can relate to it. I can do huge impact on the community with it in regards to nonprofit fundraising. And it really fills a creative side. So with that art background, Rhett and I do all the labels in-house. So I really feel like I have the best of both worlds, where I have this really heady, amazing, smart relationships, and an amazing team, and on the Crooked Water side, fun and creative, amazing team. So just my goal is, like, I'll never stop working. So just that they just continue to feed themselves and grow.
I like it. Hey, You mentioned time spent with your dad when you're younger and in the family business. If you look back over your career, was there some lesson that you learned that was very impactful that you wish you would have learned sooner?
Um, I think maybe more trusting my gut sooner. So being in the business that I am with Sean, my brother for ODG. Sometimes I can be seen as just his sister, and so even though I have ideas and recommendations, um, in the beginning, sometimes they weren't as heard. So I think maybe if I would have fought for my gut a little bit more, and I think even today I work a lot on my communication style and my EQ. I can be very blunt and not very patient. And I wish I maybe would have started working on that a lot earlier in my career because it's really hard at 43 to change your style.
Good one. All right. So, from Eric, another question from Eric. Which business do you spend the most time working in versus on the business?
So I would say that's a good question. ODG is more strategic. Crooked Water is more tactical. With the in regards to the daily management of it, I'm trying to hire an operations manager for this year by the end of the year. But I would say ODG is probably 35 to 40 hours a week, and Crooked Water is probably 25 to 30. Um, if I were to see how I broke it down. Now, granted, I don't watch TV. I don't have kids, and I work the weekends because I love it. So it doesn't feel like a lot when it's kind of all spread out. And I log in when I want to, and I don't when I'm not into it.
Well, you told me before we went on the air what you did over New Year's Eve, so I know that you leave a little time for fun. That I know
Yes, I don't work from midnight to 3:30 in the morning.
on New Year's Eves.
That's reserved for dance time.
Okay. All right. All right. Again, for anybody who's got one last question, chime in the comments field. We'll try to squeeze it in. Otherwise, hit the subscribe and hopefully the like button. Love to have you at future clubby events. Heather, as you kind of think through our conversation here today, what you've conveyed, maybe there's something that we didn't get to, or maybe there's something you'd like to reiterate. But what would be the one key takeaway that you'd like our audience to bring with them after listening and watching today?
Um, I hope that they find their goosebumps in whatever they do, and their passion. I think life becomes really easy when you know what that is. When I talk about each of my companies, I literally get like a physical reaction, and my whole body will get goosebumps because I believe in it and I love what I'm doing. And I think that if folks can find that in what they do, um, and put action around it, if the goal is to be an entrepreneur, I find it really hard to not be successful when you put action and passion together.
All right, I'm with you. Hey, Heather, how can somebody get a hold of you if they'd like to reach out?
Yeah, you can email me, Heather at ondemandgroup, all one word.com, or Heather at crookedwaterspirits.com. They all go to the same place. And our Instagram is crookedwaterspirits, at crookedwaterspirits. And also my personal is at dirty goodness. So feel free to follow me. I'm open.
All right. Well, hopefully a lot of folks out there in the audience will. Want to thank our sponsors again for today: Irish Titan, Highland Bank, Romaine Berg. Heather, was a good conversation. Lots of nuggets that you shared with the audience. Thank you. Hope you'll come back. And again, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Highland is my bank, by the way.
Absolutely. Well,
Love them.
two thumbs up.
If I had more thumbs, I'd give them to you.
All right. Good to hear. All right. Come back again.
Will do.
Thank you.